If you really want to understand the Oregon Trail, don't look at Hollywood. Look at the Diaries. Thousands of emigrants wrote down their thoughts while they were traveling along the Oregon Trail. Today, we're going to look at those first-hand accounts to separate the Oregon Trail myths from reality. The covered wagon became the symbol of the Oregon Trail. Inside were months of flour, bacon, tools, clothing, bedding, spare parts, and everything a family needed to survive. There wasn't much room left for people. Most everyone walked 10 to 15 miles every day for months. One diary describes an unforgettable exception. After traveling beside another wagon company for 10 days, emigrants discovered an elderly grandmother sitting in a rocking chair inside one wagon. She was too frail to climb in and out, so she stayed there while everyone else walked. Hollywood often portrays emigrants as people with nothing left to lose. The Diaries suggest something different. Many families already owned farms, businesses, and property. Going west meant selling almost everything they had to finance the trip. It was expensive and risky. They were gambling that Oregon offered something even better. Not everyone could afford wagons and teams of oxen. The diaries describe people pushing wheelbarrows, pulling homemade hand carts, leading pack animals. One traveler even described a woman carrying a cast iron bake oven on her head with her remaining possessions stacked on top. Preparing for the trail was one thing. Living on it day after day was something else. We are going to look at what a normal day on the plains looked like once the initial excitement wore off. Once the journey began, survival depended on other people. The diaries describe neighbors repairing broken wagons, sharing food, helping with difficult river crossings, and caring for people they'd never met before. When one woman became separated from her wagon train, nearby camps searched for her. When a ferry accident left a widow and her children alone, another wagon company took them in. One family even shared their food with a barefoot traveler who had lost almost everything. The diaries are full of chores. Women washed clothes whenever they reached a suitable stream. They heated water over open fires. They carried wash tubs and buckets to the river. Sometimes the men helped. One woman joked that watching the men do laundry was amusing because they looked completely awkward, standing in the river with washboards. Bathing also became a social activity. Groups of women often walked to the river together. After weeks of dust, a bath was one of the few chances to feel human again. Long before leaving home, families spent months preparing supplies: flour, beans, bacon, coffee, tea, sugar, dried fruit. Some families even brought cows. Fresh milk became such a luxury that several women mentioned it in their journals. Others wrote about what happened when the grass failed, or the cows stopped producing milk, or the coffee ran out and had to be replaced with roasted barley. The dramatic moments fill movies: river crossings, storms, mountain passes. But the diaries spend far more time describing ordinary days. Wake before sunrise, cook breakfast, walk some more, make camp, repair equipment, wash clothes, cook supper, sleep, then repeat tomorrow. The greatest challenge was surviving hundreds of ordinary days. Surviving the daily routine was one thing, but as the miles added up, the greatest threats on the Oregon Trail were not the ones they had spent months preparing for. The diaries mention muddy rivers, sick travelers, and constant concern about water. Modern research suggests that some of the earliest disease outbreaks may have begun before the trail became crowded. In parts of Nebraska, contaminated water may have been linked to decaying buffalo carcasses in the rivers and streams. Later, the problem became much worse. Thousands of emigrants, thousands of livestock, the same rivers used for drinking, washing, bathing, and watering animals. One woman recorded passing 7 fresh graves. A few days later, 11, then 21. She wrote that had they traveled through the camps instead of staying on the trail, they would have seen many more. Yet today, almost none remain. Families often buried loved ones beneath the trail so animals would not disturb the graves. Years later, travelers returned to places where dozens had been buried and could no longer find a single grave. We are here in the Willamette Valley along the Willamette River, and this was the destination of people who had traveled the Oregon Trail. This is where they wanted to come to. They crossed 2,000 miles, spent 4 to 6 months on the trail, and endured incredible hardships. But the way Hollywood has envisioned how the Oregon Trail was is very different from the emigrants' own experiences. To understand what the Oregon Trail was really like, we have to look at their journals, their diaries, their firsthand accounts. At the end of the day, after they had a grueling day of traveling with the wagons, they would sit down by the campfires and write down their memories, their experiences of what happened that day. We are fortunate that there are many of these journals still available to us. And through their words, we can decipher what really happened on the trail and separate myth from reality. For many immigrants, reaching Oregon was the dream. Hollywood remembers the dramatic moments. The diaries remember the ordinary ones.